Hello and welcome to a new Guitar Nerdery video. This episode is for those guitar players who are interested in and want to learn the tapping technique. I'm going to provide you some basic information and very important details you should pay attention to avoid major mistakes right from the beginning. The tapping technique is a legato technique. Compared to picking, notes have less attack. The strong points of this technique are that you can play really fast, relatively easy, and play these fast runs with really great tonal intervals because you're using two hands. Tapping on the guitar means basically hammer on, pull off with the right hand. When I say right hand, for the left-handed guitar players, it means the left hand, of course. So my first recommendation is fret a note with your left hand on some string. On the same string, try to articulate another note by tapping it. And this should sound the same as if you would play it with the hammer on of your left hand. Try this on different strings. This is called tap, therefore the tapping technique, and it's the same as a hammer on. And we have also pulls, pull-offs. It works the same like you would do with your left hand. It's not just only lifting your finger, no, you have to pull the string. And there are two different ways you can do this pull-off. You can pull in your direction, or you can pull the opposite direction. You have to find out what suits you the most and then go for it. I always do the pull-offs in my direction. For me, it's the same like with the left hand. You pull into your hand. And besides finding out which direction you prefer to pull, up or down, you can also think about which of your fingers you want to make your main tapping finger. Intuitively, a lot of guitar players choose the index finger. But I just from beginning thought, hey, if I use the index finger, I have to put the plectrum somewhere. And I'm not very handy with such kind of things. So I decided to make my middle finger my main tapping finger. Maybe this is an idea that also works for you. And then try to tap and pull alternately. Concentrate on the sound, that your note has substance, that it's really there. And then for the fun you can change positions and then you have already a lick. My next tip is a more difficult one. I'm talking about damping. When playing tapping technique, you have to damp those strings you do not use all the time. Tapping technique is mostly played on a distorted guitar, and distortion, you can see it also as a kind of compression. And compression is what we need. Because we have no attack of a plectrum, tapping technique tends to be a very quiet playing style, so it has to get a kind of boost. When you're playing tapping technique on a clean guitar, the notes you play tend to have a great dynamic range. Imagine you're playing in a rock band and you're using tapping technique. When the notes have a really great dynamic range, some notes will pop out and some notes will drown. Therefore, we use distortion also as a kind of compression, or you need a compressor. But what you get then is we have a signal to noise ratio. All the noise that is much more quiet than your notes you're playing goes really far up with a compressor or distortion. That can be really disturbing and suck out the sound of your notes you're playing. Even if your movements are really exact, if you do not damp, just by self-resonance, all them other strings begin to ring. Some guitar players who use the tapping technique really often use a damper, but I'm gonna show you how you can do this without these tools, but you have to take care and practice this right from the beginning. If you want to use your hands to damp the strings, you have to do it while playing, and the overall idea goes as follows. When playing the high E string, all strings above are damped by the right hand that at the same time is doing the tapping. The opposite of this, when I play the low E string, I cannot damp with my right hand anymore. So all the damping is up to the left hand. And it goes like this. You're fretting the notes you want to play. At the same time, in this case, I have my index finger completely flat upon all those 5 strings underneath it. I damp all those strings with that finger at the same time. And if you're playing on strings in between, you have to use both hands to damp. It's always those strings under the notes you're playing, you're damping with your left hand, those above with the right hand. So you got that movement. Practicing this solves another issue at the same time. It comes in very handy for your tapping hand when it has a guide. When you're tapping with your index finger, you can use your thumb and tap like this. What I do, because I tap with my middle finger and I use my palm to damp, this is automatically my guide here, my hold. Only when I play the low E string, I have to get away from the fretboard, but then I still lean on the body of the guitar. So I have here my anchor. Even when tapping in these low positions here, I still have my elbow on the guitar. I have a very easy to learn first tapping lick for you to show you another issue you shouldn't forget when learning tapping technique. The whole lick is on one string, in this case on the high E string. That slow, it's a little bit abstract, so let me speed it up. You first can try this. You have also to damp these 5 strings here. If I wouldn't do this, it would sound like this. It's not possible to keep them quiet. The next thing you can do, using the A minor pentatonic shape, the well-known shape. Use it as pattern for fingerings for your left hand, and knowing this is A minor and all notes in the 12th fret belong also to A minor. So we can combine the pentatonic shape here in A and combine it with all notes in the 12th fret. Here again, the lick on the high E string. If you want to practice now that lick on the B string, to also practice the damping, here you have to damp the high E string. Use here these 2 notes and tap again here in the 12th fret and play the same lick. G string. string, A string. And look, here I only damp the low E string. The rest underneath the A string that I'm playing here is damped by my index finger. And here I completely go away with my right hand and play the low E string. And all 5 strings underneath the note on the low E string are damped. It comes in very handy to practice it like this, to use the A minor pentatonic. You already play in one key. And now a final issue you should really take care of. I'm talking about timing. Tapping is a more difficult technique to develop a good timing with. A good timing is what makes what you play sound good. You can play 100,000 notes, you can play 3 notes. If the timing isn't right, it just doesn't sound good. So my first recommendation here is using a metronome. And I'm going to show you 2 ways how you can use it. This lick consists of 6 notes. All that has to do with 3, we tend to play it like triplets. That is what you can do first. Play it as 8th triplets. 1 and the 2 and the 3 and the 4 and the... I just played to the metronome at the tempo 80 beats per minute. And what I'm gonna do now is lower the tempo to 60, 1/4 less than 80. And instead of playing 8th triplets, I'm gonna play 16th notes. And these 16th notes at tempo 60 are as fast as 8th triplets at tempo 80. So I have no speed up at all here, but the lick lies differently now in the groove. Technically, nothing is changing. You're playing just the same. But because it lies differently in the groove, it feels completely different. 1A and a 2A and a 3A and a 4A and a... Keep this in mind. If you want to train 8th triplets and also the 16th notes, choose one tempo for the 8th triplets and then for the 16th notes, subtract 1/4 of the tempo. For example, tempo 120 for 8th triplets, then you can play 16th notes at 90. Or tempo 160 for 8th triplets and then 120 for 16th notes. This was it for today. I hope I could provide some good information about how to start into the tapping playing technique and that you can avoid some major mistakes that are done very often. If you like the content and if you not already have, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'm looking very forward to see you next time.